What's up YouTube? So today we are looking at a new synthesizer called Dawesome Abyss. So Dawesome Abyss is a particularly interesting take on synthesis as it kind of differs a little bit from the subtractive synthesis methods that we generally know of, choosing a waveform, adding filters, etc, etc. It's kind of based around a palette of colors, and you can kind of choose a bunch of colors and then morph between these different colors to create a kind of like your own custom wavetables and stuff. I think the technology is based around wavetables, a particularly cool kind of workflow around the way that you sound design with this plugin. So firstly, this is not going to replace stuff like Serum, Vital, Phase Plant, because it's definitely not a workhorse synthesizer. Maybe it can get there at some point. The effects are certainly incredible, but there are certain quirks to the synthesizer, like the envelopes and certain things kind of lead towards a particular type of sound. Pads, slower legato leads, strings, Atmos, that kind of stuff. So you can't really do very sharp plucks because the envelopes are a little bit kind of slow, and there's various other kind of little quirks about the plugin. Maybe they will be ironed out in future updates. That being said, I think, like I said, just the general workflow of this thing, I think, is particularly exciting for creating new sounds. And I think, obviously, the genres that we do on this channel, psytrance, anything to do with that, side chill, ambience, that kind of stuff, a lot of it is very much heavily based on atmospheres and pads. And that's why I think this is a particularly interesting synth that might complement something like Vital, Serum, Phase Plant that we kind of use to create those same, cutting, sharp lead sounds anyway. The fact that this is kind of confined within, only able to create these particular Atmos and pad sounds, I think it might be a plus. So anyway, let's dive in and have a look. So I really like the simplicity of the interface. I feel like a lot of the time when things get a little bit too complex, they kind of push both newcomers and people who kind of just want to dive in and be a little bit creative and try things a little bit differently. I feel like very rigid interfaces can often kind of paint you into a corner of the type of, to kind of force you to do the things that we do, so often. And I think having a completely different take on synthesis can kind of force you out of that box, which I think is particularly interesting. So first and foremost, like I said, the effects sound incredible. But there's this edit panel. Basically how it works is the entire synth is kind of based around this color palette. So you can kind of change this to kind of reduce the amount of detail in your palette. So that's obviously the amount of sort of hue or color saturation or whatever it is. So you can do various things to kind of change your palette. And then what you do is you kind of like, you can audition the sounds by just dragging your mouse. So you kind of like drag your mouse around to find a particular color that you may like, and then you hold shift and you drag that color and drop it. Let's say, for example, like this is your palette. So these are all the colors that you can choose from. And then this is your canvas. These are like the different colors that you're going to use to create your specific sound. Let's just remove some of these nodes that are already here by double clicking on them. So what we can do is we can just choose, so we can go and choose different kind of colors to put into our canvas. Okay, that's quite a nice, interesting selection of sounds that we have there. So this position knob here, this is kind of like a wavetable position knob. Is this kind of like changes the position of where we're grabbing these colors to create our particular sound that we're hearing at that particular moment. Apparently, I like the word particular. So I don't like this one too much. I think this one kind of destroys that tone of the sound. I like these lush sounds that we've got going here. Amazing. I love that tone. So here, let's just jump in and have a look at quick look at these effects. So first and foremost, we have a shimmer style effect. So this is kind of like a reverb, but it's not like big. It kind of just adds these shimmery effects. I guess more like a crystallizer type of thing. There's a traditional delay or echo style plugin. There's a reverb, and then there is a phaser. So each of these have different styles. So this one has shine, pearl, angle, kraken, octopus, blah, 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 blah. This one has various different, ping pongs, that kind of stuff. Comb filter as well, which is pretty interesting. And then we have this one, which is like various different reverb styles and various different phaser styles. So this shimmer and this reverb are absolutely incredible. These are the winning elements of this plugin, in my opinion. So let's say, for example, we don't like that sound. We can just jump in, remove, like, say, for example, we don't like any of these nodes. We could remove them all and start again. We could remove just one. So we can kind of like update our wavetable as as we want. We're not limited to a very rigid wavetable that's kind of already created or already saved. We have that's why I kind of like this. You're creating it live on the spot, and then you can kind of use it and morph it in the context of your track, musically. So let's look at how the modulation system works. You've got various modulators, both down the left and right-hand side of the screen. The left-hand side are your kind of input modulators, stuff like mod wheel. You've got various MPE parameters here, MPE slide, glide, etc., pressure, velocity, lift, all sorts of things. You've got sample and hold, which I believe is a note on random. Key track, which is the note input, and various other parameters on the left hand side. Then on the right hand side you have your stuff like LFOs, envelopes, sequences, and that kind of thing. So I believe there isn't like a programmable arpeggiator style sequencer type thing, although that being said is you can actually draw in by just kind of drawing on the actual surface of the of these little things. You can actually draw in notes, which you can then quantize and stuff. So you can have like kind of semi-programmed sequences and things doing it that way. But it's a little bit more kind of like creative in the fact that it kind of like, I believe it's more to just create these kind of beds of sound, which we could then, add to any other plugin and create various different things with. We could resample it, we could resynthesize it using, wavetables or anything. So I believe these types of limitations are minor from a sound design point of view, just because the fact that it looks at synthesis in such a different way is pretty inspiring. So anyway, one of the downsides is that the envelopes don't go to 0. So if we put these envelopes all the way to the left, there's still a bit of attack time. And another issue is once the sustain is all the way down, there's kind of like an inevitable click that the plugin creates. So, I mean, these are probably things that are going to be updated, fixed in various, newer versions and stuff like that. But it's just something to note, don't tell me like in the comments, like, oh, this plugin sucks because it's got clicks and stuff like that. It's just, there's various ways around it. I think it's just one of the niggles about, it being a new plugin and stuff like that. That being said, is most of the time I'm doing these pads and atmospheres and stuff like that anyway. And with those types of things, you want like maximum release, maximum attack. You know what I mean? So let's say, for example, we want to create just a traditional LFO sine wave on this position parameter. What we would do is we would highlight the position, and now you see it's got these little square brackets around it. That means that it's currently selected for modulation. And now any of these sliders below this modulation represent that amount, and you'll see the color correlates. So here, if we click on cutoff, you'll see the color turns to orange. So now this LFO, if we turn it up, would control the cutoff. Do you guys understand how that modulation works? Cool. So now we can have a look at the rate and all sorts of things like that. So we could turn this down quite a bit for a very slow modulation of that position parameter. So there is also FM built in. How it works is this is the amount, this is the ratio or the tuning from the one oscillator to the other, and then you can choose the waveform of the FM. So I believe that this is just kind of simple waveforms, and it modulates the wave that you're creating using this position. I think we just literally hit the bottom of the abyss. That like low hit, that like that it does. Fuck, that's so cool. Love it. That, my friends, is an absolute sound design powerhouse. And I just love its simplicity. You know, the fact that these effects just sound so good. Everything about it is just exactly what it needs to be. And I think that's amazing. I think that's super inspiring. Yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you like this weirder type of synthesis, you know, where things are kind of flipped on its head, it's still similar. I mean, you can apply a lot of the same kind of techniques that we know. But just, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you like this idea? What other stuff have you seen that is kind of intuitive and different and unique like this? Also, let me know in the comments. And yeah, awesome. That is about it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, if you haven't yet, consider subscribing to my channel and hitting that like button. I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.